just figured it out later in the season, and we're just having a lot of success. So
Yeah, looking at it, we have kind of a similar running game.
mhm.
The same type of running backs. I feel like we can run outside with
Cook.
Dalvin Cook,
Yeah.
and you have a kind of a similar situation. Our
Mhm.
backup's kind of a, he's not Dylan where he can just hit the holes, but we got a kind of a that combo back like you guys got, and we haven't been running the ball well, and you guys
Mhm.
have,
Mhm.
so that's been awesome for you guys. Now, looking forward, um, well, let's talk about you've had a lot of drops. Your
Mhm.
receivers had drops. You got young receivers. Do
Mhm.
you feel like you've seen enough in Watson that he's the future? Because a lot of people were upset that we traded with you guys. You were able to trade up and get Christian Watson.
Well, when you come from watching Devonte Adams and watching him make basically any throw that Aaron gives to him and he can catch it, it's kind of hard. I do think that he's got a lot of potential. He's got a lot of potential. He's got the speed for sure. Um, it's hard to say. Like Devonte Adams wasn't perfect when he came into the league and he had to work his way up. Do I think that he's the future? I think he's got a. I think he's got the potential to be. I think he needs to, in my personal opinion, just kind of keep doing what he's been doing in the latter half of the season, catching balls and get get the hell upfield. Just make sure you secure that catch and get the hell up the field and make his best plays as many plays as you can. I mean, what did he have? 7 touchdowns in 4 games, and he
Yeah, it was
wasn't
pretty nice for you guys.
well, and it wasn't. He hasn't been the biggest factor in the last couple games. He had a couple. I think he had a couple catches, maybe 1 or 2 catches. But we're not heavily reliant on the passing game as much. So I would say when the time comes, he needs to step up and he needs to make those catches. It's kind of like Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb this year has been pretty. He hasn't been utilized as much, but he's there to make the big catches when we need a first down. On third down, some stuff like that. So, do I think he's got a bright potential? I do. From what I've seen earlier, later in the season, I think he's got the potential to really be the future in the wide receiving core. But who knows? Who knows? So.
Hey, let me give a shout out to some listeners here. Bandito, McAndrews, he says good evening. Michael Harris, say hey, hello, gentlemen. We got Dave Thibodeau. He's probably laughing when I got a Packer fan. This is you're the second time I've had a opposing team's fan on here. I had Micro Mike on here from uh, yeah, I think it's Micro Mike. Yeah, from the chat. I forget the chat sports. He's a big Lions commentator,
Hmm.
and the McAndrews. Hey, thanks for showing up, guys. So you brought up. Let me just go back to this. You brought up off that you actually are Minnesotan. Your
Hmm.
parents openly rooted for the Vikings, and when they weren't when they played each other, well, they also openly rooted for the Packers. And when they played each other, they
Yeah.
rooted for the Vikings. And you
Hmm.
decided to heck with your parents. I don't love them anymore. And then you decided, and maybe they dropped you on your head, and you became a Packer fan. Is that
Mhm.
true? Is that true?
That is
Is
that is
that what you said to me? Am I repeating it exactly the way you said it?
that is, and like when I was growing up, I was wearing both Viking and Packers stuff. I remember my first jersey ever was an '84 jersey. That's why I love Moss so much. And I remember also growing up, and I had a Favre jersey, and I just kind of had my pick of the litter, and I would cheer for both of them. And I don't know, it's probably right around when I was like 7 or 8 years old, where I really was like, I like Favre and the Packers a lot more. I don't know why. I like the gunslinger a lot. I like the fact that he was kind of a country boy, just out there slinging it and stuff like that. And I remember watching the Moon game too, and I was laughing when Randy was mooning the Packers, but I wanted the Packers to win that game, and my whole household didn't. So, yeah, I did have an uncle too who was kind of a defector. He was never paid attention to football, and he was at work or something. They were making bets on the Vikings Packers game, and this is when the Packers were complete ass back in the '80s, late '80s, early
I
'90s.
remember
Before,
it.
yeah,
Late
before.
70s, most all of the 80s, and then
Mhm.
Brett Favre came.
Yeah, and it was. You said it was before Brett Favre's era, and they were making bets, and I guess my uncle just threw his shoe in the ring, shoe in the ring, and he was like, "Well, I think that the Packers are going to win this one." And he watched the game, and they ended up winning, so he got a little bit more interested. And then Favre came around, and he didn't really have an influence on who to watch for football, so he chose the Packers. And he was kind of, when I was growing up, he was always poking the bear, like, "Hey, they win on this side," all
So,
that other stuff. So
so what you're saying is he had a work-related accident, also got hit in the head, and became a Packers fan. That's what I heard. I don't
exactly.
know what. I think our listeners heard that too. I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure they would
Yo yo
agree.
yo, Gulberson Toy Box Company, Branson Toy Box Company. Michael Harris, Vikings fan since 1978. I was born in '73. I came out of the womb wearing a Fran Tarkenton jersey. I'm
There you
pretty
go.
sure. This is my parents tell me. My mom's from Minnesota. My dad's from South Dakota. Vikings fans all up in my family. We do
Hmm.
got one weird guy. My brother-in-law is a Cowboys fan. He grew up in South Dakota.
I
Go
think we
figure.
can both agree that
We,
that's
we both hate
worse.
him. Yeah. Oh, hey, sorry, sis, if you're listening. Oh, hey, this is my father-in-law from Panama. Everybody say hi to Javier Cabilla. It's my
Hola.
father-in-law from Panama. Skull Vikings Los Majores. I think that means they're great. The Vikings are great. I think that's what that means. I don't know. My dog knows more Spanish than I do. So Brett is 9 months older than me. So I actually looked this up since 1992 when Brett Favre came to the Packers. The Vikings have gone through 26 starting quarterbacks. Like they have started a game.
Mm-hmm.
26. Do you know how many the Packers have gone through
Starting quarterbacks
that started a game?
that started a game. Oh, geez, 4.
It's actually 7, believe it or
Really?
not. Because you got to put the Magic Man in there.
Matt Flynn.
Back in Brett Favre in '92, and he took over the job, and
Oh,
then
that's right.
Rodgers got hurt. We all remember that. Anthony Barr's probably got a statue of him somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
But or
It's
he
funny.
might get one. But but you guys did some quarterback, and then I think your current backups saw a few games, so you guys had 7. But really, most of those have been. It took you two Hall
Yeah.
of Fame quarterbacks to get close to us in
Mm-hmm.
division titles, because we do have more division titles to you, 19 compared to 16. That includes the North and the Central. So we'll hang our hat on that. You guys are probably 7 games up. That's again, they have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in a row to pass us up in wins against each other. You guys got about maybe 7, 8 now, I think, more wins after you beat us this time. But hey, why are you guys bigger rivals with the Bears, if that's the case?
I don't. And this actually was kind of. I did not discover this until, since I always grew up here. I knew that we were big rivals with the Bears, but since the hype is always huge in Minnesota when it's the Vikings and Packers games, I didn't realize how big of a rivalry that was until I actually went to Lambeau in 2017 when Brett Hundley was playing. And we were obviously not very good that year, but I was talking to some of the locals around there, and all of them kept saying, "Oh yeah, we're bad this year, but at least we beat the Bears," because I think we beat the Bears twice that year. And I didn't realize that was a way bigger rivalry than the Minnesota Vikings to them. And the only thing that I can really think of is just kind of the history there, because I think what it was the Packers
You
came around
guys
19.
predated us, both of you guys.
Yeah,
You guys
I
are
think.
both like early franchise teams.
And I think that's the biggest thing is early franchise team, because the Bears came around in 1920, and we came around in 1919. So there's that
And we
history.
came around in 1961.
Yeah, so there's 40 years of a gap there where we're playing each other constantly, and I think that gets passed down generation to generation. So I mean, it's still huge here. It's huge here. All I get all week from my friends is how Jefferson's going to hit the gritty on us all week. They were talking all this smack in week 1, 2, and So I love it. I love the Vikings Packers rivalry more than the Bears rivalry, probably because I'm in it. So
Yeah, because you have family. Bears Packers rivalry goes back like 200 years. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
it might be.
Mm-hmm.
If you add both
Mm-hmm.
teams. Yeah. So yeah, the Vikings. We look back. I mean, we were the first. You guys won the first 2 Super Bowls. We were the first team to go to 4 Super Bowls. We
Mm-hmm.
were the first team to lose 4 Super Bowls. Thank
Mm-hmm.
goodness the Bills came around and
Yeah.
lost 4 in a row to take the heat off of us.
Yeah.
But I basically, let's say Atlanta was playing the Patriots. I was rooting for the Patriots to come back so bad because I do not want. I want fewer teams to. We're the only team over 500. We had the
Mm-hmm.
6th most. We had the 6th biggest winning percentage in NFL history,
Mm-hmm.
and we're the only team over 500 that hasn't won a Super Bowl. And I'm like, what? Come on, guys. This is like honestly, we're like the Cubs, the White Sox back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
The Boston Red Sox, like the curse.
Mm-hmm.
What is our curse? I'm trying to figure out what our curse is. It might be you switching, breaking your family's heart as a Vikings fan, switching over to the Packers. You may be you should have switched back over when Favre came in 2009.
Well,
Come on. And
so
then we
I
brought
was,
Randy Moss back.
I was, because I mean, even back then, I was definitely, well, gosh, that was what, 2009, so that was quite a while ago. Significantly younger than I was now, which I'm still pretty young. But I remember cheering for the Packers that season. I think we got in as a wild card. The Packers did that year, if I remember correctly.
Are you talking about 2011 when you won the Super Bowl?
No, was it 2009 that we lost to the Arizona Cardinals in a shootout, I think.
Oh, okay. I remember that
I
one.
believe that was the same year. But I will give you this. I will concede to this. I was cheering for the Vikings that year because Brett Favre was on the team. I did want them to do well. I will concede that. I will concede that. I really enjoyed Favre, and even though
and this pisses me off because we had Sharper for a while, right?
Yep.
He shall not be named now. Like that guy was going to be a Hall of Famer, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what he was doing in his post career, but he went and played for the Saints and actually took out Favre. I mean, you should have seen. I don't know if you ever saw pictures what Favre's leg looked like after that game. But for some reason they decided not to protect quarterbacks in that game. He got hit high and low at the same time. I don't. And then we lose the game in overtime, and they changed the rule the next year that both teams get a chance. But we lost it on a 3rd down. I think 3rd down play, PI. That was bullshit. And they got in field goal range and kicked that field goal and won the game. We dominated that game so bad. We had over 400 yards offense. They barely had over 200, but we had 5 turnovers. And that cost us the game. I never seen a team fight so much until this year. And we've done it like 8 times this year, but I've never seen a team fight so hard to get back in the game, have it, get a 12-man in the huddle call on us, drop it back 5 yards, long will a Packer out of his range because of his, he got a little bit older. And then Favre throws across his body for the pick. I mean, God.
Yeah.
When we know how to break some hearts, man, our teams knows how to break some hearts, but you guys haven't won the Super Bowl since 2011, right? So you guys and you've lost like 3 NFC title games in a row or something like that.
Yeah.
So are you guys kicking yourselves like we've been kicking ourselves? Punt, lose the game.
The only thing that I can
trying to hurt you right now. Trying to hurt you. I'm trying to twist it.
It's all right. I appreciate it. No, I just think that when clutch time, when you needed to perform, the Packers just didn't perform in those NFC championships, and not even the NFC championship. I mean, look at last year, the divisional round. I mean, we were set. I mean, Jesus, we were the number 1 seed, and we were playing at Lambeau, and we were always told we have to go through Lambeau. That's the way that we're going to get to the Super Bowl, and we get bounced in the divisional rounds. It was the same thing with the Buccaneers the year beforehand, and it just seems, as much as, the Vikings have had heartbreak, we've had so much postseason heartbreak with one of the best Hall of Fame quarterbacks, or a future Hall of Fame quarterback, I should say. And there's been several times. I mean, if you count how many times that he's lost in the playoffs or whatever, I mean, this guy should have, Aaron Rodgers should have 3, 4, 5 Super Bowls, but we just choke every time. So I know they talk about Minnesota choking, but I mean,
It's warming
playoff
my heart
choke,
right now. Keep talking.
playoff choke is pretty real in Green Bay. I love Green Bay. I love the Packers to death, but I mean, I remember watching the Arizona Cardinals game, and I think that was a wild card game in 2015 or 2016, somewhere around there. And it was a shootout, and we lost in overtime. I mean, that was a heave by Hail Mary to Jeff Janis to tie the game, and there was a 4th down. He rolled out left and just hucked it up there. Jeff Janis went and got it, and next play they leave Larry Fitzgerald, the Minnesota boy, wide open, and then a little inside shovel pass to him to seal the game. So you're not the only sports franchise with a little bit of heartbreak going on. We just seem to have regular season success, and then we just don't go on to postseason success.
Let me ask you this. Our Ed Donatil defense has been another historically bad defense. It's like we want to top our defense wants to top itself every year. Mm-hmm. Like the last 3 years, Vikings have been historically known for their defense. Every once in a while, we get some bad ones, but we've gone 3 years with bad. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say it's as bad as it was last year, because we did some historically crazy things. Like nobody gave up more points in the last 2 minutes of the half and 2 minutes of the game than we did ever since they recorded that stat. Mm-hmm. It was just like no one's ever done where it's like been 400, like 300, 400 teams in those 20 some seasons that, so we were historically bad. But we have a guy that's a senior assistant on the team, Mike Pettin. He used to be your defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. And he actually had good defenses with you, and he got ousted out of town over like one play in a playoff game, right?
It was a Kevin King play, I believe. It was, I think it was 2020. Don't quote me. My memory is so bad.
I think so, because he was coached with the Bears last year, and I think he got fired the year before.
If it was the Kevin King play, and it was at the end of the half. If I believe it was Brady threw a bomb. I believe it wasn't to Mike Evans. It was one of the lower numbers. It was like 13 or. It might have been Mike Evans. I don't know, but Kevin King got burned at the end of the half in that NFC Championship game. But our defense was decent that whole year. It was actually pretty good that whole year. So if my memory serves me right, I don't do as much research as you do and write things down. But if my memory serves me right, yeah, Mike Pettin was a pretty good D coordinator. And yeah, I believe it was Kevin King got burned, and that was – everyone wanted to burn it down. Our offense didn't put up hardly the numbers, and there was a bunch of controversy with all of that. And I think a lot of people, don't realize how much goes into a game, and how much adjustments can be made. And a lot of these matchups where it's a good offense versus a good defense is kind of a chess match. And every once in a while you get burned. And it kind of brings you back to the Rams-Patriots Super Bowl, where that was such a defensive schematic chess match. And it just so happened the reason why the Rams lost with Goff is because Tom Brady got the ball in overtime, So I don't know if it was one singular thing that year, but I think that Mike Pettin is actually a pretty good defensive coach all around. Personally.
I'm thinking there has been calls for him to take over this year. I can tell you that. And I was one of them, and probably still am, but hey, I think we should shop around in the off season, and but we do have a guy I think could take over, and this is a Purple Pocket Podcast. He's my co-host on my show tonight. I do a show on his show, or we do it on the Purple Code, and we air it on both channels. You've probably seen him. And then Green Bay Eagles trash, a trash can apparently. So, hey. We have there's this thing called hashtag FGB. So that's a trend, and we're gonna keep that going on this channel. But actually, who does that the most is probably the Detroit Lions, Micro Mike, or I think it's Micro Mike. I screw up his name. Sorry, but
Mm,
Micro Mike from Chat Sports. He time. There's plenty of guys that want to FGB. So we'll go with that for a night. But
mm-hmm,
hey, you've been a great guest. I know you only had a half an hour, but maybe a couple more questions.
mm-hmm,
You guys are going to be. You guys might make the playoffs, right? You
yeah,
got to beat Detroit at home. Detroit's a formidable foe.
mm-hmm,
They're itching to win. They came back from 1-6. You guys came back from 4-8. You guys were three and
mm-hmm,
one at one time. And
mm-hmm,
honestly, two or three of those games were pretty lucky, like
yeah,
us, where you guys
mm-hmm,
came back or held off a team.
mm-hmm,
But then you strung it together. You're both even. A winner goes into the playoffs most likely. What do you
mm-hmm.
feel your chances are? What are your outlook of that game? You nervous?
I am nervous. I got the same energy as I was going into the Minnesota game. Hopefully, I'm pleasantly surprised. Obviously, for Detroit, they have to have Seattle lose, and that game is at 3:25, and they're playing who, the Rams. Um, but if Seattle loses, then obviously it's got to be a Seattle loss, I believe, and then Detroit gets in. I think that either way, even if Seattle wins, and Detroit's eliminated, they still get to play spoiler. And who would you like to spoil more than, an NFC North foe? Do I like our chances? Yes. I think that, especially with the way the defense has been performing the last couple games, if we can stay where our special teams, our defense, and our offense are running on all cylinders and they're complementing one another, I think we have a good chance to beat Detroit and sneak in as a 7th seed. But Detroit is not going to be an easy test. They're just as hungry as we are. And I think that they really do rally around Dan Campbell quite a bit and believe in his system. And I mean, he's taken them to higher heights than the Detroit Lions of even 2 years ago. So I like our chances. I think that defense definitely needs to step up. I think we need to run the ball, just like we were running it against you guys. And hopefully we can come out with a victory and sneak in as a 7th seed.
And then my next question: face the San Francisco 49ers on the road.
Yeah, it was.
How do you feel about that?
It was. I don't feel anything. I feel nothing but shame and heartbreak, essentially. But I will speak on this.
Hey, here's your prize. You're gonna play San Francisco in San Francisco.
Well, and see, the whole thing is, and I can't remember who I was listening to earlier. It might have been Pat McAfee with Rogers on the Pat McAfee show, because he does the Aaron Rodgers Tuesday. I think that was him talking again. Don't quote me, but someone in the sports world is like ESPN, or maybe it was Pat McAfee. I watch so much stuff and I don't keep it in my brain right. But they said, they kind of asked Rodgers, what's the difference between going in at 13-3 and then going in at 8-8, slipping into the playoffs at 9-8. And I think he did bring it back to 2011, where we slipped in as a 6th seed and we had to win a couple games out to get into the playoffs. And he kind of described it as, there's like momentum built up to go into the playoffs is kind of almost more of a better motivator than going in as the number 1 seed, because everyone expects you to win. I think that Brock Purdy and San Fran are the hottest team in the NFC right now. I think that all around they're deadly, and on paper they should beat us. But I do have faith that if we keep this train going, and like I said, if we keep playing on all 3 levels, firing on cylinders on special teams, offense and defense, and complementing one another, I think we could definitely get it done in Santa Clara if we really wanted to. And I'd be hopeful for that game. I really would. It just put my blood pressure through the roof a little bit, but that would be a really good late Christmas gift if we could just beat the crap out of San Francisco, or just win. So,
Well, my worthless opinion here, it probably gave you the nicest compliment we could probably ever give a Packer fan, and we probably would have to struggle to do that. This guy seems decent enough. I agree. If you're the only Packer fan I ever met that I like, my initial thoughts when you went on my my chat, you said the Vikings were gonna go one and done. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this guy. But no, hey, you've been a trooper. yeah, that I'm glad that win cured your fever that you were having. That got you. You were supposed to show up on I think Thursday, then we're
Yeah.
gonna do Sunday, and then you're like, Dave.
Yeah.
And then the next day you're like, hey, I'm ready now, man. Let's go. Let's go. And it's been awesome. I know you had some commitment. So I'm gonna let you go. Thanks for coming on, guys. Thanks for listening. Skull Vikes. Sorry, this was a short one tonight. I wanted to get them on. I got a show night, but hey, any last words before we go?
No, go Pack, go baby, go Pack, go.
Hashtag FJ or FGB, man. Hashtag FGB. Oh, what do we got here? Yeah, he's cool. Talk to your parents again. All right.
All
Hey,
right.
we got Michael Harris, Skull. All right, guys. Skull Vikings. We're out of